Hey, and welcome back. I felt like I couldn't ask other people to come on the show and talk about their lives if I didn't talk about my own. So I wanted to do that. So, at 18 months old, I was adopted. I was born in New Mexico. I was adopted by a couple of a different race. My sister and I were both adopted. Uh, I was told over the years many stories about my parents and why we couldn't live with them. Who knows what's true? Excuse me. So, was adopted to a great man, not such a great mother, but my father was Air Force, so we got to travel. We lived in Alaska, we lived in Turkey, and then we finally ended up moving to North Carolina, and things were going great. We had a great life. My dad was retiring from the Air Force as a master sergeant, and it was actually at his retirement party. Excuse me. It was at his retirement party that he started coughing, kind of like I am right now. And well, he started coughing up blood. He was coughing into his handkerchief and started coughing up blood. And I remember as a kid, I was 6 years old, but that's one thing. I'm 41 now, but that's one thing I don't think I could ever forget. And I remember looking at my dad, my hero, and just wondering, man, what is going on? So at 6, he was diagnosed with throat cancer. Uh, I don't know the exact diagnosis. I was too young. But anyhow, for 2 years, I watched my father suffer. I watched him put tubes in and out of his body. They cut a hole in his throat. He had one of those robotic sounding things that he would put on his cheek, I think, to talk. And I remember watching that, and he was always in and out of the hospital, always. And man, I tell you, as a kid, that's some pretty tough stuff to see. You know, you're watching a man that taught you how to play baseball, basketball, and how to hunt and how to fish. You know, he's pretty much a hero. And of course, at that time, I was just starting to learn what adoption meant. I was just, barely understanding that, okay, my mom and dad are not my mom and dad. I mean, they look different, but as a kid, I didn't know any better. So, anyways, here I am watching this man, tough guy, cowboy from Texas, and here he is. He's being slowly depleted by this ugly thing called cancer, you know. And as a kid, I'm just like, man, I wish there was something I could do. But what could I do? I was just 6 years old. So for the next 2 years, I would watch my father suffer. I'd watch him cut holes in him. I would watch where he couldn't talk no more. He was weak. And then one time I remember he leaned forward on his hospital bed and they were looking at his back. And he had, like, it looked like golf balls, but they just covered his whole back, his whole entire back. And I mean, it just like golf ball after golf ball after golf ball. And I couldn't believe it. Like I said, at this time, I think I'm 7.5, almost 8, watching this stuff. And it's terrible, man. It really is, you know. And this whole time, my sister, she's not handling it well. Like I said, our mother was not a nice person. She was not a good mother. She was alcoholic. Um, she was mean. She was abusive, verbally, physically. And her and my sister finally ended up getting into it. And she shoved my sister into a mental hospital, uh, Cherry Hospital, over there in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And crazy place, man. I ended up there too, but we'll get to that. So, anyways, Mom throws her into the crazy house, and sis is gone. So it's just me and mom. Mom's drinking more and more. Her brother comes down. He's there. He's drinking. They're just, I don't know, miserable people. Here I am, this kid. I was just about to start school. My dad was retiring, so we were moving off base. We had just got a new house. I was about to start a new school. I was finally getting old enough where I could play football. So a lot of things to look forward to, as a kid. And here it was. It was just falling apart. Just totally falling apart. And so watched my dad suffer. And little by little, just the cancer ate him away. And then it was sometime in September. I remember being at the hospital, and my mom had told me to go lay down. I was in there visiting with my dad, hanging out with him. He was just kind of sleeping, but she told me to go lay down. And so I went to the waiting room section over there, and I went to go lay on the little couch or whatever. And it wasn't 5 minutes after laying down, I heard somebody crying. I heard this woman just crying. Just this awful, awful cry. And she was screaming and crying. I thought, man, what is going on here? And all I could think was, oh man, I hope it's not my dad. So I got up, and as soon as I looked out the door to my left, I'll never forget it. I could see my mom standing there crying over my dad. And I swear at the time, it looked like a bright light. It was like right there. I don't know, it was weird. Anyways, that's not important. But anyways, he passed that night. I was 8 years old. And I remember I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror, and I didn't cry at all right then. I already knew what happened, but I had this overwhelming peace. I was hurt, obviously, but I had this peace. And, I remember looking in the mirror and I was like, God, please, not now, not now, we can't do this now. And, of course, none of that mattered. And so I ended up leaving the bathroom, go out. Of course, I already knew what was up. And then my mom comes running to me and she tells me, hey, your dad's dead. He's gone. He's kind of like, yeah, I know. Well, so then I go back and I try to lay down, just try to sit there, stay out of the adults' way. This stranger was there, man. I'll never forget him. I don't know what his name was. I'll never forget his face. But he was there, and somebody told him what happened. He came over, kind of gave me a hug, just told me he was real sorry and stuff. So it really helped. But so anyways, that was a big turning point in my life. Excuse me. And after that, pretty much we had the funeral, and I went nuts. I absolutely lost it. My uncle said something to me one day about my dad, said something bad about my dad. I flipped out, and I'm an 8-year-old kid. I mean, I don't think I'm 4 foot nothing. I mean, I'm a little short, skinny little runt. And here's this big biker guy, and he's running his mouth to me or whatever. What could I do? So I went in my room, tore up a bunch of shit, got mad as hell, and then they ended up calling the cops on me at 8 years old. So the sheriff comes out there and he slaps handcuffs on me. That's the first time I had handcuffs on me. He put them behind my back too. He didn't sit there and cut me no breaks. He didn't put them in front of me. He put them behind my back. Tried to kind of, rough me up a little bit, sling me around because I was this little kid. But so anyways, he takes me off to the sheriff's office, and they're trying to decide what they do with me. I end up going to the same hospital my sister was at, Cherry Hospital. And like I said, it was a crazy place. They had some crazy characters there, man. I'm talking about some nut jobs. They needed to be there. I mean, I hate to say nut jobs. That sounds a little, not politically correct or whatever. But whatever. For me, hey, it is what it is. But yeah. Anyways, they were crazy, man. They violent, very violent. There was always a fight. I had guys in there fighting over my sister. About who's who's gonna be her boyfriend and all this stupid shit. I mean, it was retarded. But anyways, I stayed there for about 2 months. I get out. Instead of going back home with my mother, uh, I end up going with this so-called friend of the family, you know, which I didn't know him. I met him a few times at church, but as far as being a friend, I don't know about that. But anyways, I get put with this guy. He's got a ranch. Okay. On top of that, I found out my mom is now dating some new guy. 2 months after my dad's dead, she's dating some guy. She's with some guy, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And he was a complete asshole. You know, he didn't want nothing to do with me. Here I am, this kid, this military brat, and I go from this kind of city life, suburbia life, playing with toys and video games and being involved in basketball and baseball and karate, that kind of stuff. To now, I'm going to live with this guy on a ranch, you know, a full-blown ranch raising Texas Longhorns, you know. And at 8 at 8 years old, this guy wanted me to work like a man, and he would beat me if I didn't. He would slap me around. He would tell me I was stupid. I wasn't worth the air I breathed. You know, he said, "Hey, are all people like you stupid, or are you the exception?" Talking about my race. But those are the kind of things that 8 years old I was being told, and that was the environment that my mother put me in, and it was a complete shock for me. It totally screwed me up, and so I end up enduring abuse for about 4 years from this guy. I go from being this city kid to now I have to work like a man all day, get up. I would go to school. Actually, I would get up and go feed this baby calf. I'd feed him a bottle because his mom had died, which was pretty cool. But anyways, I'd get up, feed him, do stuff like that, morning chores, come back, get ready for school, go to school. Instead of coming home and doing my homework, I would come home and have to work and work until the sun went down, sometimes even after that. And so then I would do my homework. Okay. 8 years old, right? Trying to get good grades, right? And if I didn't get good grades, I was stupid. You know what I'm saying? I was a complete idiot. That's the kind of things that I was being told by this guy, And so here I am going through this, and this guy would slap me in the face. Now, my father would discipline us, but he never slapped me in the face. He would whoop us. But this guy, he would slap me in the face. He spit in my face. He kicked me in the ass. You ever heard that term, you need a kick in the ass? Well, yeah, I got that for real. So anyways, his own family realized what he was doing, and other people were starting to see it. So his own brother called social services after about 4.5 years of dealing with this. And so social services comes and gets me, and they take me to a foster home. Okay. These people that I was living with were my so-called guardians, but guardians, foster home, whatever, same thing to me. You're not my people. You're not my family. So, anyways, they take me off to this foster home. Never been in a foster home. Didn't know what a foster home was. I just knew I was leaving home. What I had known as home for the last couple of years. And I was sad and excited, but I was also relieved, man. I was scared to death living there. I never knew what this guy was going to do, And then there were rumors of him being a pervert. So I didn't know, man. I mean, he never messed with me, but I don't know. Anyways, I got out of that situation. End up in a foster home. And man, it's just from then on, I think it was, I got my first taste of the other sex, if you know what I mean. And at a very young age. Um, which, hey, whatever. Anyways, but from then on, it kind of got found out, and of course, I had to leave. And so then I would bounce from foster home, foster home, foster home, group home, and eventually I ended up the first foster home that I ever stayed at long term was one down in the beach by the beach in Brunswick County, North Carolina. And man, I'm gonna tell you something. It was pretty awesome. The people were actually pretty cool to me. Of course, no place is perfect, right? But the place was pretty awesome. It had a swimming pool. Uh, there was no air conditioning. Old country home, but it was good. It was nice, man. It was the first time I had actually felt like a family. Now, I guess I should back up a little bit. If uh, if you're living in North Carolina, if you were ever a foster child in North Carolina, then you may have heard of the Willie M label that you can get. The Willie M label basically it means that you're violent and that you're unpredictable, and you end up in some pretty bad places, some pretty worse than jails because everybody in there is violent. You go in jail and everybody in there might not be violent, but you go to a Willie M home, it is 100% guaranteed everyone is violent. That's how they got there. So, anyways, I'm labeled a Willie M. I haven't gotten to experience those group homes yet, and I move into this foster home, my first long-term one. So, start school, do good, start playing football. Never had played football before. So that was pretty awesome being a part of a team. And we actually won the district championship uh, back then. So that was really awesome. That was a life experience to be remembered. And of course, I got introduced to pot early on, at about 13 years old, and started smoking weed with my girlfriend. And man, when she turned me on to the weed, that was it. It was over. This was my answer to everything. And so I became a pothead. And eventually, I ended up running away from the foster home. I ended up uh, leaving and staying with a friend of mine. His dad was rich. He owned like half the county. Of course, if you were to look at him, you wouldn't know it. He's like this old farm guy, but he's rich, super rich. But anyways, he had this old trailer park, these crappy trailers. You want to talk about trailer trash? Man, that was trailer trash. And so we move into this trailer, and the trailer's got a big old hole in the side of it. That's how beat up it is. I mean, this is like run down. It shouldn't even be livable. Nobody should be living there. So, anyways, we move in there. Lots of drugs. I get a job. My friend's got a job. We both got jobs roofing. He's 16. I'm 14, and so we're just living. We're living on our own, and we're partying. We're committing crimes. We're breaking in places, stealing liquor, having parties, doing all kinds of drugs, and having girls over, and you name it. You can use your imagination at 14, 16 years old, my friend. So, anyways, that kind of started with the criminal activity. For whatever reason, man, we just had to go out and get into mischief. It wasn't good enough for us to just chill or go be part of a football team or any of that. I still to this day don't know what we were trying to prove or why we did what we did. I mean, I have no idea. It was stupid, man. Complete freaking idiots, you know. But anyways, what can you do? And so living there for a while, committing crimes, then I end up moving in with a friend of my sister's. I kind of been keeping up with my sister a little bit at this time. And so I moved in with a friend of hers. Well, she's 38. I'm actually, I think I'm 15 at this time. Like I said, I ran away when I was about 14. I think I just turned 14 or something. And stayed with my buddy about a year. So I was about 15 at this time. And because, like I said, I had been on the run from the foster care system. I'd been dodging them. They didn't know where I was at. And so I emerged. And when I did, my sister found a place with her friend. She was 38. I was 15. And yes, that's where that story's going. That's what happened. As you can imagine, uh, you know, I, I don't know. These days, I don't know. That's a weird subject, I guess. Because at the time, I didn't see it for what people would say it was. But, I guess that's just part of being a male, too. But, anyways, I stayed there a little while. And then I end up smoking weed and drinking real bad. I mean, real bad, man. I'm drinking every day. And so, uh, end up drinking and I forget what happened, man. I got in trouble with something and ended up the sheriff's come and got me. And I ended up having to go to a rehab. And I go to this rehab. This rehab's awesome, man. They have an all you can eat buffet there. And if you're wondering who's paying for the rehab, it was my dad's military, the GI Bill or whatever it was. Um, like I said, I was a ward of the state, so all that money went to foster care. Foster care gave them the money, whatever. Anyways, that's not important. Um, and so end up at this place. Man, this place is awesome, dude. They got a pool. They got the chicks. Loving it, man. Loving it. I'm just loving it. Oh yeah, one of those situations. So it was in Cumberland. I think it was Cumberland Hospital or something. I don't know. Awesome place. But anyways, this is where shit hits the fan. For whatever reason, I've I have no more foster homes that I can go to. No more group homes. Now it's time that they want to show me the real shit. They want to show me the Willie M homes. And let me tell you, I go to this place and it's in Wilson, North Carolina, and I think it's at the School of the Deaf. Yeah, the School of the Deaf. It's just right on the edge of it. It's only one little section. They only hold 8 guys there, only 8. But those 8 guys are very dangerous. They're very violent, and they don't give a damn. And I was one of those guys. So here I go in this place, and it looks exactly like a jail, like a little mini prison. It's got the fence, didn't have razor wire, but it had the chicken wire that was, I think it was pointed in or something, and it was like hunched over. And then in your room was like a cell. It had like a little 4x4 or 6x6 window or something, and it was still door, still bed, a little bitty tiny shit. I mean, it was crazy. And you were on a point system. You started each day with points, and it was up to you to keep them. And you could lose fucking points for anything. It was stupid, man. But you want to talk about fights? Man, there was fights all the time. I ended up getting in a fight with this one guy, Bobby, and I punched him in the eye and busted his eye all to shit. The guy the center calls the cops on me. They don't arrest me though, because I'm already in a locked facility, right? So they don't take me over to the jail. But I do end up getting probation. And I ended up staying at this place for almost a year. And I got probation, had to do community service. It was crazy, man. But I don't think a day went by that we didn't get in a fight. We were always fighting. It didn't make a damn for what. One of us would wake up pissed off, and that was it. But after that, I ended up going to a really good foster home, man, really good people. The guy was actually a cop, you know. You want to talk about freaking out, dude. Here I am, this teenage criminal, right? This ex-con already, and I'm going to live with a cop. So uh, I go live with these people. Everything's going good. I go to school. I get in this huge fight, man, with this gang. This guy, man. Now I had just gotten out of this Willie M home, right? These kids didn't know, of course, anything about it. They didn't know that I was there for being pretty damn violent. I mean, I had already assaulted staff and everything. I mean, crazy shit. So, anyways, here's this little punk kid coming around because he's part of some gang, and he keeps trying to mess with me. And I just told him pretty much, buddy, you better fuck off. I'm not in the mood. You know. So he was like, you wait till lunchtime, you're gonna get jumped. And I was like, okay, bring it. So lunchtime, all of a sudden I'm standing there over on the wall, and all of a sudden this bottle, Mountain Dew bottle, comes flying through the air. Shoo, 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 shoo. And bam, it just hits me right in the head. And it was too fast for me to react, man. And as soon as I saw who threw it, it was that guy. So I immediately walked over there, and I walked through a crowd and started fighting. I ended up knocking 5 of them out, and there was about 20 of them, and there was 5 of them that the first 5 that I ran into, I was able to knock them out. The other ones pushed me to the ground. They finally got me. They started kicking me and stuff. And the sheriff that was there on grounds, he happened to be like outside, so he ended up breaking it up. It was a crazy situation. But after that, I left school. I was tired of being there anyway. I'd had enough. So I went, got my GED, and took me like 2 months. That's it. I banged that shit out. And then I jumped right into college. And I thought everything was great, man. I was doing great. But then I ended up smoking a lot of weed, man, hanging out with the wrong people. Got involved with the wrong girl. And the next thing you know, man, I'm doing cocaine. And I ended up, this is after I got out of foster care. I ended up, after I got into college, I stayed in foster care, left, got a job, and ended up getting a house. And then I was still going to college. I was running with this girl. And then, this girl introduced me to cocaine. And man, I was hanging out with the wrong guy at school. He was actually selling me weed and shit. We're smoking weed before class. And so school pretty much took a backseat. Well, in the midst of all this, I'm dating this girl. She introduces me to cocaine. And then I end up kind of laying out of work, not going to work, fucking up. And well, I end up losing my job. And of course, this house that I have is my boss's house. That's the only reason I'm living in a 4-bedroom, 2-story house. So it's his house. So guess what? It's time to go. So now I got to find a place to live. Well, I had nowhere to go. I couldn't go back to the foster home I was at because they were still foster parents. And I really didn't have anybody else. I had a few friends back home, back in Brunswick County. So I called one of them and told him what was going on, and him and his parents invited me. I went down there, moved in with them, got a job, started doing better. And well, what did I do? I went back and knocked on the devil's door. I went back to hanging out with old friends that had introduced me to drugs and all that in the first place, and started committing crimes. And next thing you know, I end up in prison. And it's crazy because the prison that I ended up in was the same prison that I went through a Scared Straight program twice. I went to this prison 2 times and through Scared Straight. And I went to the older version of it the first time. I'm talking about Polk Youth Institution. It's now in Butner, North Carolina. Excuse me. And I went there twice, and I went to the old Polk once. And so here I am, fresh 18. All this shit has happened in a short period of time. And man, now I'm on my way to Polk, the infamous Polk. If you're from North Carolina and you've ever been involved in the criminal lifestyle, any kind of jails, group homes, training schools, any of that element, you know about certain places. And Polk is one of them. It is the gladiator camp. The rumors that you hear are true. Yes, the guards will kick your ass. It is not the place to be. But anyways, so here I am. I'm going to Polk, you know, and of course I was already a badass, right? So I thought, here I am, a tough guy, right? Because I'm a Willie M, I'm a big bad waka waka waka. All right, I'm straight now. Sorry about that. I told you I get a little silly sometimes. So, anyways, I go to Polk, and man, I think it was like as soon as I showed up and we started lining up and going inside for medical, these two guys just start going at it. They just start fighting. And actually, let me back up. The jail that I left from, Wayne County Jail, one of the craziest, if it and Rice Street in Georgia were the two toughest places I've ever been. But leaving this place, these two guys saw each other in the hallway from the jail. And they both are shackled with handcuffs on, right? Belly chains, all that. These two idiots start trying to headbutt each other. And I mean, I was just like, what the fuck? And of course, one of them was the one that was trying to do it was on his way with me to Polk. Actually, was on his way back. And I just remember thinking, like, damn, this is the kind of crazy fuckers that we're going to have to deal with when I get there, And so we get there. These guys end up fighting. I already heard the rumors. And man, Polk was rough, dude. You got like one phone call a month, 10 minutes, and that's it. That's all you got, And if you weren't careful, you would lose that. So, anyways, I end up at Polk, but then I end up at Polk is just like reception. You go there, you get classified or whatnot. So my classification got bumped down a little bit. So I ended up going to medium custody. But the medium camp that I went to was just as, to me, in my opinion, it was more dangerous. It was Morrison Youth Center. And now the thing that made this place so dangerous, one, the guards didn't give a damn. Two, it was a cash camp. Yes, you heard that right. A cash camp. Okay, cash money on the yard. Now, you want to talk about people getting hit, people getting robbed and stabbed, and man, it was horrible. It was one of the scariest places I've ever been in my life, man. But anyways, end up there, stay there for a while. Then I end up at Bladen. It's a low camp in North Carolina. Well, I already had charges from South Carolina. Okay. So I had to go face those charges. And I'll get into more of that later. But I had charges there. So instead of getting out when my sentence was done in North Carolina, they just held me at the prison. And the people from Horry County drove up and got me from South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. So they come get me, and it's back to J. Reuben Long, them hot dogs. You ever been to J. Reuben Long, and you know about them hot dogs. So sorry. But so anyways, I end up there, and I was on probation. I was going back there for a probation violation. I had an 8-year suspended sentence. So I ended up going to court for that, and I didn't get the 8 years. They cut it in half for me. I got 4 years. So got the 4 years, and then I end up going um, go to Kirkland for processing, and then I ended up at Trenton, and of course, man, I've got stories for days on these places, and I'll have to do those later. But I just want to give you a quick rundown. So, anyways, I go there. I end up doing a couple years in prison, under five, and when I got out, man, I thought I was gonna do all this stuff. Of course, if you ever been to prison, it's just packed with promise makers. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And I mean, you think you're gonna do all this stuff, and then reality hits, and then of course, like for me, it's women. Here I have been a couple years without women and alcohol. We got drunk a few times in there, but for me, it wasn't like every day. I guess maybe some people had it like that. I didn't. It only came here and there. But that's another story, another day. But anyways, so go through prison and experience a lot of crazy shit, see a lot of crazy shit, get out, and man, end up meeting this crazy chick, dude. And I'm crazy. I was already diagnosed manic depressant, so I've already got issues, you know. And she's fucking crazy, but she's hot, you know. And so at the time, it just, I don't know, it it didn't matter. Nothing mattered. Nothing mattered but a good time. And from there, it just, I don't know, man. It really started going bad, man. I started drinking more and more. I was dealing with a lot of things. I had a daughter right before I went to prison. I never got to see her born. I never got to see her birth. I'm sorry. Excuse me. And I was just dealing with a lot. I had a lot of PTSD that coming out of prison, and I didn't really realize it. Um, I didn't want to be around people, loud noises, certain sounds. I don't know, man. It just goes on and on. How that's a video in itself. But I started drinking real heavy, and I just kind of kept that habit up. So ended up getting in a yellow match with her. Fucking got arrested for domestic. Ended up she was so her and I stayed together for a while, for just a little bit, and broke up. That went bad, and so anyways, I stayed with her for a while, and this cycle goes kind of on and on and on. Being with women and drinking and drugging, and man, I would I would get good jobs and I'd be making good money. I had already been in construction before I went to prison, but then I ended up getting involved in the carpentry courses and the cabinetry course, and I was ended up being a TA. So I ended up teaching other fellow convicts how to build cabinets and stuff and frame and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I keep going back and forth. I'm sorry. So this cycle continues. Man, just, women, alcohol, drugs. And it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, man. I mean, we're talking about we go from weed to weed and alcohol. Now we're going from weed, alcohol, cocaine. And we're doing cocaine every which way we can do it. And now we're doing ecstasy. And we're doing, God, what else was it? Pills, oxys, opiates, benzos. Man, I don't know. I have to really sit down and think exactly what I did. I mean, holy shit. I think that covered it all, but who knows? Anyways, so that goes on for years and years. I'm back in and out of jail. And this whole time I'm trying to deal with the PTSD. I'm trying to deal with not being in my daughter's life. She's growing up without me. her mom and her new stepdad, they don't want me around because of my background and stuff. Been to prison. Basically, he just didn't want me in the life because he's jealous or whatever. I don't know, really immature. But anyways, so I had to deal with that. And man, I ended up meeting this girl, this chick. I ended up getting a house, my own little house. And then I ended up meeting this chick who's now my wife. And we went through hell together. I put her through hell, you know, but she stood by me. She's left me, and we've been back and forth, but she stood by me. She did, and I don't know if she would tell you it's worth it, but it's been worth it for me, obviously. I mean, but you have to understand, I didn't change for her. I didn't change because of her. I didn't change for my daughter. I didn't change for any other reason than I wanted to change. I really had to look inside myself and say, man, you know what? This is bullshit. You need to get your shit together, buddy. The party's over. Okay, the party is over. You need to check out, get your coat, and get the hell out of here. Okay, because the party has to go. It has to go. You have to leave now. So, anyways, I decided, hey, you know what? I'm done. So, stop drinking, stop doing any other drugs. Stopped doing drugs a long time ago, actually. But I stopped drinking about 3 years ago, over 3 years now. And I jumped back into school finally. Like I said, I went to college before, about a year and 6 months, year and a half. So, jumped back in, tried to finish what I started, man. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely a few steps further in that direction. You just have to remember that every journey has a first step. There always has to be a first, whether it's a first and this, that, and the other, or that first step. So there always has to be a first, and you can't say you can't be scared, man. You just got to go for it. Sorry, man. Sorry for all the mumbling, but there's a taste of my story, and it's not much of one. I didn't end up a millionaire. I'm not one yet. Yet. Notice the word yet. But I definitely feel like I'm headed in a different direction. And I know things are only getting better. Man, I feel better these days. I do. I feel so much better. I feel more at peace. And like I said, for those of you out there that are struggling with addiction and stuff, listen, man, I'm going to tell you a cold, cold, hard truth. You have to do it for you. If you don't do it for you, if you do it for your mom, your dad, your wife, your kids, your dog, I don't give a damn. If you do it for them, and it's not going to work because they're going to fail you at some point. And a failure to you is a trigger. Trust me, it is a trigger. And it's a trigger is that reason to pick those drugs back up, to pick that drink back up. So there you go. You have to do it for you. You got to look addiction in the face and say, fuck you. Excuse the language. Sorry. Anyways, listen. Till next time, be safe, be sober. The battle's over, baby. We out of here.